The DOJ wants to break up Google. Anyone can buy tracking data. And has Microsoft gone subscription happy? This is Mac Voices. Mac Voices is brought to you by the 2024 MacVoices Holiday Gift Guide. Gift ideas to give and get from all your Mac Voices friends. Hardware, coffee, bags, you never know what will be picked, but they're all great. Find our gift guide shows in the feeds or visit the master list of gift guide picks in the blog section of the Mac Voices website at macvoices.com. All right, well then let's move on to something that'll maybe, I don't know if this, I don't know how
raise
you'll
my
feel.
blood pressure. Let's get my blood pressure going. Come on.
I don't know if this will raise your blood pressure or not. The DOJ wants the DOJ wants Google to sell off Chrome and basically just get crazy. The article that I have posted here is from the Google blog, so this is clearly slanted, and their contention is that the proposal would hurt consumers and America's global technological leadership. That may overstate the case a little bit, but on the other hand, I think there's something to be said for that position because Google right now is such an important thing. So I want to know how this group feels about it because I think I can see it both ways that Google certainly has some monopolistic power, but does selling off Chrome and tearing it apart make sense at this stage?
Aren't all these DOJ lawyers going to be looking for new jobs in 8 weeks?
Yeah. It's, why not just leave it alone? Because Google abandons every product eventually. So they're going to drop Chrome at some point too.
That's what I was thinking. Why didn't they go after all the products that they dropped? Why go after the one product they still have?
Well, look.
I think there's some points here, but I don't think this is the solution. And one of the problems is that Chrome, I think John Gruber, said it's kind of like, my left foot is valuable to me, but it's not really valuable to anybody else. And, Chrome wouldn't really work as a business on its own. It's not really valuable to anyone other than Google. So to split it off, it doesn't make sense.
Is it kind of like Netscape then? Remember Netscape?
Oh,
which was the first browser I used.
Yeah.
And,
what do you mean? Is it
just your point about it? It's hard for a browser to be a standalone business.
Well,
I guess that's my
valuable
point.
To Google because they can use it to route advertising, and it helps. They've got this other business that they can use it in a monopolistic way, basically. That as a standalone business, you couldn't do that.
Okay, so sort of to Webb's point, though, if they have to sell off Chrome, it probably can't stand on its own, so, or in any significant way.
Right.
So it will either live on as a shell of itself, or it will just go away. But what they've effectively done is they've taken away a channel from Google to gather information for advertising purposes. And so it seems kind of a ham-fisted way of it's taking away something from some of us that might use it. And I don't know if there are any hardcore Chrome users here, but it would take something away from the end user and really not give us a decent alternative strictly for the purpose of taking some revenue away or some options for revenue or intelligence gathering away from Google.
I think the flip side is there's big concerns here that, Google is working on trying to own the web. And, if they own the HTTP protocol, I don't think that would be good. But and really the main thing stopping that now is Safari on iOS devices, which may not be doing that for much longer. But I don't think this would be the solution to that problem. I'm not sure what the solution is, and I'm not surprised that DOJ lawyers can't figure out what a solution would be. So,
yeah. Eric?
From reading this particular article, nothing that is proposed seems to really make any sense. It doesn't seem to solve anything. However, given the source of this article, I would have to wonder if it's written specifically to make you come to that point. So I would really love to see somebody else write about it that's not Google.
well, there
Maybe
has been
filling
lots
in
of
some
other
blanks.
coverage.
But nothing I have read yet makes any sense out of how they're thinking of doing this. I can't see how any of it helps.
I haven't seen it. I have not seen any coverage by anyone that thinks this makes sense. But I think it's not going to happen. My point about the lawyers not being there is fairly serious. But even if there wasn't a change in administration, I think this would be unlikely to get through a court. So
it would take a while, but I'm sure they said the same thing about AT&T. Don't worry about it. They'll never break up AT&T. Guess what? And Eric, I hear what you're saying, and I think it almost depends on the angle from which you attack it. I mean, think about the VeriSign article we just had. So there is a faction out there that seems to just see anything that looks, feels, or smells anywhere close to a monopoly. It should be broken up. It should be investigated and potentially broken up. And Google certainly fits the model a lot more than VeriSign does.
And I don't disagree with that. I just don't see how any of these proposed solutions actually effectively do that.
Dave?
I was going to go back to think about this. Chrome in itself, its backbone is Chrome OS. Now, there's been discussions. I don't know what articles I've read about this, but now with these more affordable Macs, the Mac Mini, where's Chrome OS going to be? These Chromebooks are becoming more and more of a netbook. They could go by ways of the netbook. So how are you going to spin off the Chrome browser? But when Chrome OS has got a major backbone, that part of it is Chrome, the Chrome browser, because it functions through the Chrome browser. So how do you split all this up without it affecting then, Google's OS business, their Chromebook business? I mean, I think Google's a little worried about that. Only, like I said, because the Mac is becoming more and more of an attractive type of device because the pricing, and that was always the issue with schools and others that would buy these Chromebooks, is because pricing. You could buy a Chromebook so much cheaper than you can a Mac, but the return, and we always would defend on a Mac that the return return on investment with Macs is so much far greater than these Chromebooks. These Chromebooks, I mean, and Eric can probably attest to that, working in education, knowing that these Chromebooks are like a dime a dozen. I mean, I've got one here that I look at, and it's so cheaply made. I mean, it's a very poorly made product. Same thing with Brian working in education. So where is this going to go when it comes to the browser versus the Chrome OS, if they're going to split it up?
Marty?
I would clarify. You said that Chrome browser was built on Chrome OS.
Well, it's part of Chrome OS.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around. Chrome OS is kind of built on
Chrome itself. Yeah,
on Chrome. And I'm not sure this would this wouldn't mean that. It's hard to say because the Chrome's open source, so and what does this mean? I guess you can't sell a desktop app. That's a weird. But Chuck, you mentioned AT&T. I think that's the exception that proves the rule because they never did manage to break up IBM. They didn't manage to break up Microsoft. Generally, these kind attempts to break up large corporations do not wind up in the corporation being broken up, and AT&T is sort of the one case where it did happen.
Now, go back if you don't mind, real quick. I want to put another note to this. Go back to the other browsers that are based on the Chromium, back end, Edge. Edge is huge for Microsoft. I mean, and they opted to get away from their own browser, and like they had for years with Internet Explorer, and went with the Chromium-based Edge. You've got Brave. You've got a lot of these other Chromium-based browsers out there that are using that. Where's that going to go if this gets spun off somewhere? I mean, could that affect it? I don't know.
Well, I think the Chrome browser is a different thing than the Chrome. I'm not sure what to call it. I mean, Chrome was originally WebKit, and then Google forked WebKit. So, Safari and Chrome have the same, they all came from a thing called KHTML. So, it all comes out of a common thing, and there's a lot of common code. And the browser is sort of an additional thing, like the search bar and bookmarks and
so much
window management. So that's a different thing than the HTML engine, which is what you need for Chrome OS and for the So these other like Edge and whatnot, they take the open source HTML engine, and which I don't, the Chrome browser is not open source. I don't think.
No, it's Chromium. That is
Chromium. It's Chromium based.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, Chromium, and then Chrome is built on Chromium.
Right, like Edge is built on Chromium.
Mm-mm.
So that's what they're calling their version of WebKit. It used to be called Blink, right? It used to be called Blink.
I'm not sure.
A lot of these questions are going to depend on where the cracks would come. If at least if it ever happens. But you do have to wonder what it would do to Google and to America's technological leadership as referenced in this article, recognizing that the article is very definitely pro Google. Marty?
Yeah, to Dave's point, they're still using Chromebooks with the teachers that I work with in the schools. That's where the grant money goes. Buy them Chromebooks. The idea is that they'll have usable laptops for their students in the classroom. And then there's this whole thing, Google Classroom, which gives them a learning management system that they can use for it. So it's a big package. And the device being the Chromebook is the one that connects the package and also then connects it to Chromium or Chrome. If you're going to do it. My original question was just trying to think about and this is for the group, it's not that I have an answer to this. What does this article do or this blog post do for Google? Is it an attempt to get out, media is going to pick this up and the articles are going to, the authors of the common media will not just say this is terrible, but these are all the possible things that could happen as a result of it? Or are they looking for some public uprising? I wouldn't have known to find this article or this blog post unless it was sent to me by Chuck. So I'm just trying to figure out purpose of the article.
Well, they sent me a check, Marty. So that's why I brought it to your attention.
Yeah.
It's basically a press release.
You could look at it that way. Brian?
Yeah, I was curious, and I really don't know 100% of the answer to this, but I did find an article that was pointing towards the Chromium underlying technology of Chrome, and pondering whether or not, if they were forced to sell off Chrome, being the controller of Chromium, if they could make changes to Chromium, therefore making that required sell-off product of Chrome basically a very much inferior product. And this article kind of was asking kind of that same thing towards the end, asking if they're forced to give it up, could they just turn around and make a Chrome 2.0 or something that would be superior in technology? So I thought that was just kind of interesting. It's saying, will that even solve the problem?
Yeah. Webb?
I'm reading the Wall Street Journal. I'd put it up, but I'm sure it's behind a paywall. So it'd be kind of a waste of everyone's time. But remember, there's another aspect to this whole thing. We're talking about divesting of Chrome, but this is really, if I understand things, and I could have it very wrong, but as I understand things, Google's already been found guilty of having negative monopolistic activities. And so these are the remedies that the DOJ is proposing, as I understand it. One of the other things that's part of this is that big payment that Google pays to Apple as the default browser in iOS, and also I think
engine.
Also in Safari too, in the search engine. Yeah. But the other thing is that those payments go away. That those are considered illegal. There's one line in here. Yes, but the DOJ proposals were expected, such as a divestiture of Chrome browser and a ban on payments for default or preferred placement on Google's search engine on Apple devices. But others came as a surprise, including a proposal that the government described as, quote, restoring competition through syndication and data access, end of quote. This involves Google providing its search index. In my mind, that's the golden eggs, the gold ticket, if you will. The search index, the massive database that it has on all websites. They want to take that and make it available to everybody. Bing, DuckDuck, you name it. So we're concentrating on the Chrome thing, but I believe we're looking at this, but this is the real issue here that I think we need to be focusing on.
Well, we're focusing on this because the DOJ has put the focus there.
Well,
we're
focusing on this because I picked this article to put in the show notes. So Webb, you may have found a better article that's more balanced and takes a little broader perspective. So if you want to throw the link in, even if it is behind a paywall,
I'll see what I can do. Yeah, I'll throw it in there. If it is behind a paywall, I apologize.
The Verge article says a lot of the same things. So there's a link to that.
There's a book. There's a way to do free articles if you want to share a free one. Since you're a subscriber.
And if I knew how to do that, I would.
There's a button.
Dave will show you after dark. How's that? But I'm going to grab the Verge article that Jeff mentioned. I'll throw that in the open chat room on YouTube so that you all can look at that. And I'll also add that to my collection for the show notes, because this story is gathering up quite a little collection of links. Two more I wanted to touch on before we run.
Before you touch on that,
yeah,
I went to call out Jim for his fracking Wikipedia brain of information. We're sitting here going on about all this stuff, and he's like, "Well, WebKit was the basis for Chromium, but it was Blink before that, and I went and looked it up, Jim, not because I doubted you, but because I wanted to see the references, and you could have written the Wikipedia entry on that. So high five to you."
And Webb, I know.
For you, it's just I call that Tuesday, but the rest of us are like, damn.
Yeah. Webb, you started to say something. I think I cut you off.
Oh, no. It's I'm just going to go back to what I said. We're concentrating on the Chrome thing, and it's huge. I'm not denying that. Jim Rea, you're correct. It's huge. But like I said, this was several other items besides the divestiture of the Chrome browser that Google is being punished for. So that's it.
How much of a
Chuck, you
danger?
can have your show back.
How much of a danger is this to Apple?
Aside from what, a couple of $1 billion a year they get in revenue?
Well, no, in the
It's like
sense
20
that
billion.
if they have to, if they don't have Chrome, and that affects maybe Chromebooks, maybe it affects some phones and some phone OSs, maybe, then doesn't that affect the balance competition for Apple that makes nobody look at Apple as a monopoly? So doesn't Apple kind of want some of this stuff out there?
I don't know. My reaction, Eric, is again, it comes down to how they split up what. Just how many pieces do they allow to remain intact, and how many do they break off, and where do those breaks occur?
Yeah.
But it's an interesting question.
I think this Verge article is really good. The thing is, this is all just a proposal. DOJ is, going to give this to a judge, and then it's up to the judge. So they're not going to get everything they want, or maybe anything they want. And obviously Google is going to rebut. They have lawyers that are going to tell the judge, no, judge, these DOJ lawyers are full of baloney. Substitute other word there. So whatever happened is unlikely to resemble what these proposals are. And again, that's assuming that the DOJ maintains a consistent, sticks behind these proposals between now and April.
Two more I want to get to.
I think this is really unlikely to happen.
I agree with you, Jim. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you that this makes great articles, and it'll never happen.
Lots of money for lawyers.
Two more I want to get to before we get out of here for the Thanksgiving holiday. And this one is just more. Sorry, somehow I grabbed the wrong shoot.
That could have been awkward.
No, it wasn't. Jeff.
What? I mean, it could have been the link to the Christmas present you're buying us.
Okay, let's try this again. This is just interesting. And I would encourage you will need it's on Wired, and you only get so many free articles a month. So if you haven't used up your free articles, you can read this. If you have to either go to another browser or wait until next month. But this one, the title is "Anyone Can Buy Data Tracking U.S. Soldiers and Spies to Nuclear Vaults and Brothels in Germany." And
wait, and brothels?
And brothels, yes.
Okay.
What a great country.
Jeff is all over it. Hey,
everyone needs a job, right? And I respect all work.
So
Okay.
between nuclear codes and brothels, which one are you going to gravitate towards?
The one that's least likely to get me radiation poisoning.
Oh, God.
I seem to have lost control of the show completely here. Go and read this. It just the reason I brought it up is, first of all, it's a really interesting read. But second, we talk about data tracking and what the negative implications are, and so many of us at one point in the past or maybe present say, "Oh, what harm could it do? What are they going to know?" And this gives you an idea of how and what could happen depending on what your position is at work or in any organization. But the last one, David, you sort of you previewed this in a sense when you were talking about the Chrome the Chromebooks. Did you anybody see this new Microsoft Mac Mini like desktop that only works online?
Yeah.
So
I
this
saw-
Only
feels,
works
I did see-
online.
I did
yeah,
see
this
that.
Yeah, I saw
this
that.
feels like a Chromebook.
I know.
Yeah. It's a
Kinda.
Chromebook, all right, but you got to pay a subscription.
So
Yeah.
so it's a dumb terminal.
Basically a
It's a
dumb
dumb-
terminal.
It's a dumb terminal.
Wasn't
Right.
cloud current computing a term in the 90s? Oracle was going to do that. And
Yeah.
it
The
keeps
one-
coming around and around and around and around.
Yeah, but the problem is it's $350 you have to pay for the actual piece of hardware, and then it's a
Yeah.
$365 subscription, which is $28 a month.
So you're saying you're not going to buy 10 of them?
I mean, I think maybe Microsoft's trying to aim towards something like this for, I don't know, for education. I mean, you're seeing more and more education, high schools and such going with Windows versus Chrome OS. But I don't see this as being very cost effective, when especially you pay $250 more for a Mac Mini and you basically have everything you need on that.
And the article doesn't. It's I think what does it run? Windows.
Windows 11. It's a special version. Version of Microsoft 365/11. It's an online based, like Chrome OS, basically.
Yeah. So what? I mean, we're back to monopoly power, and you just know that this thing is going to run Teams. You just know.
Yeah, I just know that's your thorn. That's
Honestly, it feels like this may be one of the places this is targeted to,
Yeah.
As a dumb terminal for home workers that is super cheap and will do everything. And so Microsoft would control the experience. Therefore, at least in theory, the companies would control their experience, as opposed to having
Right.
Something else. I looked at this and I just thought this is really interesting, given the timing as close as it was to the Mac Mini, in relation to the Google discussion with Chromebooks, and just the idea that why would you want this for this price?
This doesn't even store anything locally. It is truly a modern dumb terminal.
Yeah.
Chromebooks don't store much either, if anything.
I can see this having some footprint in educational systems,
Yeah,
just
I could.
because educational systems are so tied into Microsoft, and this might be more of a cost-effective way to manage it. Frankly, when I needed a Microsoft computer, I got one of those little tiny desktop boxes about the size of a mini. You can go on Amazon and find it. And it comes with Windows 11 running on it. And I already had a Microsoft account, so I can throw some other things on it too if I wanted to. But then it's mine, and it's not a subscription service per se. And you can get them for about at least $350, if less.
With Microsoft 365, you can buy a standalone license, which some people want to do that because they don't want that subscription. You can also buy the less expensive single user subscription, which I think is $69 a year. Then you pay $99 a year and you can have up to 5 family members. So that deal itself, but that's just Microsoft 365. That's not an OS. So you still have to have an OS for it to run on. So there you go. You're paying $99 a year for Microsoft or $69, whatever you do, on a Mac. And you've got a Mac Mini for $500 or $600. Well, $500 in the case of education.
Yeah, but an education is tied into. I don't think the argument you can get a Mac Mini just as cheap or a little bit more is going to fly with education, because they're so tied into the Microsoft ecosystem that because the idea is we're trying to teach kids how to use computers that they're going to wind up using in their workplace.
Well, that's the thing. They're also, with the Chromebooks, they're all in Google Docs using the Google Workspace. And having to understand all the Google comparable apps and what Microsoft 365 does. So these younger kids are being brought up using that, and then they move on and go to high school, and then they move to Microsoft, and so it's like, why not just go to one thing? And in the case of Microsoft, that's where the business mostly is when it comes to that. kids are going on Chromebooks. So
again, it's something to look at. It just feels like Microsoft is getting subscription happy. They want a subscription for the software. They want a subscription now for hardware. They're looking for that revenue stream.
oh,
And
that's what they do. That's where they made their comeback, because of subscriptions.
Yeah. And I think if you were thinking about investing in one of these, you better take a good hard look at it and do the math on it, because what at first looks like it might be very attractive, I think comes with a lot of hidden costs. Dan Edwards, thank you, Dan. Dan says this is such a depressing conversation from the viewpoint of social critique.
Okay.
Maybe so, Dan. But
maybe everyone, this is Chuck being very clever on United States Thanksgiving week, giving all of us something to be more thankful for as Mac users. Just saying.
Yes, I would agree with that statement.
Clever.
Eric, did you have something to add to this?
Well, I guess my thought on this, I have no problem with a company coming out and trying to sell services, but there's this constant repeat of trying to, centralize everything on a machine with a bunch of dumb terminals, and then, that doesn't work, and the network can't keep up. So then you put full-size machines on everybody's desk to compensate for that. And then a few years later, you shovel everything into one room and, repeat the cycle. I really don't know, and things like Chromebooks where they put an expiration date on the Chromebook, that was insane, where, you hit the date and then you couldn't use it anymore, even if in theory it would work, or provision machines that were so underpowered that they barely worked when they came out. Kind of it met the specs, but I guess I would have wished that Microsoft would do something more creative and said, "Hey, we're gonna come out with these boxes, and they're gonna have ARM chips in them. They'll be full machines, but you'll get the Windows 365 subscription with something that draws less power, yet still has some performance." This just seems like an not very imaginative repeat of history.
Brian?
Yeah, I was just thinking of it from a cost benefit analysis of looking at the price of $350, because I'm going with the premise that one is going to go ahead and spend, what is it for Windows 365? The cost
28
of
a
that,
month.
20. Okay, so 28 a month. Let's just say no matter which box you buy, $28 a month is going to be that every month type price. So I was more curious on the idea of, are you getting a significantly cheaper box with those particular specs, and then taking a look over time to see what might be a better price, perhaps. But it sounds like, and I think Marty, you supplied a link there. It looks like comparable specs, I guess, for some various boxes.
Yeah, it's I just typed something into Google because I needed a Windows computer. I had plenty of monitors, and so these mini PCs, if you look at them, you can get them with enough specs for me to go into email and do some of the work that I have to do, programs that I have to run on Microsoft. So
okay, yeah, and from those links, it looks like we're looking at $150 to $200 for comparable hardware.
yeah.
So it's not even saving money on that end either.
No,
Well,
it's a very low end processor, but it's still. But you're getting people make comments on these machines that they tried everything and add through the kitchen sink at it, and it didn't stumble at all. It worked.
So
cool.
Yeah, the comment in the article that's quoted in the article by Justin Hassler. The thing is that Windows 365 is at least 4 years old now. It's just the first device built by Microsoft for the service. The subscription price being around $350 a year plus $350 a year for the device. In 3 years, you may as well have bought a $1,500 PC from the start.
There you go. So
there's sort of some math in a perspective not from the panel. But yeah, I can see people buying this machine and I just don't know that it's a good idea. Because to whoever said it, everything is going to be stored on a Microsoft server somewhere. You have no option to have it on your own.
A lot of people, that's a plus.
For a lot of people that know what they're doing, it's a minus. Webb, you look like a Cheshire cat.
Yeah. Hey, would you do this in your organization, or do you
No,
serve out
can't
365?
I can't see it. I couldn't see it.
Yeah, I can't either.
Well, we're also assuming that these prices are going to hold for like large purchases. So if I have a computer lab at a university, am I paying, $365 for each one of those computers in subscription, or am I going to get some sort of other licensing agreement that defrays the cost because I'm doing it from a university standpoint and I'm buying in bulk?
Oh, they'll give you a better price, Marty. Come on.
Of course.
Yeah.
I want Matt Fix It to do a teardown on this and find out what the price is of these machines, what they put into it. I'm going to refrain from my last snarky comment.
Teams.
No, not that one. No, I had something else. Guys, thank you. I'm Dan. Seriously, I'm sorry you found this a depressing conversation, because I think it was fun. But I think there's some things here that need to be talked about and looked at before we just follow blindly along with some of this. We're going to do the outro a little bit different tonight. I'm going to ask you folks to tell everyone where they can find you as usual, but then I'm going to ask you for your favorite Thanksgiving dish. What is it that you're most looking forward to? Can be anything you want, but what are you most looking forward to? So, David, I'll give you short notice. You take us out. Where can folks find you?
You can find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. By the time you listen to us, we'll be doing our show on Friday after Thanksgiving, so we're not missing a week here. YouTube channel is youtube.com/intouchwithios. And you can find me on the Mac Show on Fridays on the British Tech Network, as well as Blue Sky is Dave G65, as well as on Mastodon. And favorite thing I like, let's see, I'm not going to go with the obvious. I'll go with stuffing.
Very nice. Very nice. Eric Bolden, I did have a question for you before you give us your information. Did either one of your friends back there end up on your plate, or did you let them scurry off into the woods?
No, they were just there for scenery.
Okay. All right.
Wrong time of year, because when was that? I think that was like February. Yeah, that picture is from February.
Turkeys are edible year round, just saying.
Yeah, but my freezer's not that big.
They were in the snow, Eric. You could have frozen them right there. Come on.
Yeah, but there would have been that short window in the summer before Thanksgiving that might have been a little more difficult.
Where can folks find you, Eric?
I can be found at EA Bolden at techhub.social. And, Tuesdays here and Mondays with Marty with the Vision Profiles podcast. And, otherwise I'm hidden in the woods or behind a Vision Pro headset. I'm having a terrible time trying to decide favorite food, but I think I'm going to say pumpkin pie with nutmeg, slightly warm, so I don't burn myself, with real whipped cream over the top.
Wow, that's very specific. I like it. David just had stuffing, but you really took it to another level. Thanks so much, Eric. Brian Flanigan-Arthurs, where can folks find you?
Oh my gosh, I'm probably eating some pumpkin pie and stuffing. That sounds so good right now. Other than that, finding in front of a television set, probably soon to watch Trains, Planes, and Automobiles this time of year. And otherwise, Mastodon's a great place. Brian8944 at mastodon.cloud. And then as far as a Thanksgiving meal or Thanksgiving item, both mentioned so far sound great. But I'm going to lean towards my mom used to make this great broccoli bake with Ritz cracker crumbs on top. And so I'm going to go with that.
That sounds different.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Thanks so much, Brian.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Marty Jencius, what are you going to tempt us with?
Remember, those aren't pillows.
Yes.
Planes, trains, and
man.
automobiles.
Love that.
You know they were going
Hey,
the
but
wrong
the
way.
radio works.
Yeah, that's right. You can find me, Jencius, at Blue Sky, and also Tuesdays here, Thursdays with Dave on In Touch with iOS, and then Mondays with Eric on Vision Profiles. We record live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Favorite side is anything that doesn't give me reflux, which is pretty much everything that is served at Thanksgiving. So I will go with corn, which seems kind of bland, but I already have my traveling Tums to take with me on the trip.
I like the preparation. I like it. I like it. Thank you, Marty. Jeff Gamet, I have an idea that yours is going to be something off the wall. It just seems inevitable.
Well, you will find out momentarily. But first, I have to get through the other obligatory stuff, right? So, social media, Jay Gamet everywhere, and I'm active on Mastodon, Instagram, and I'm getting so much better about Blue Sky. And then shows here with you on Tuesdays for MacVoices Live. Thank you for putting up with me. And then Dave puts up with me on Thursdays, but this week, Friday, for In Touch with iOS. Both of you are saints, clearly. And then on the British Tech Network, the Big Show on Thursdays, the Mac Show on Fridays. And Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch. And all right, Chuck, here you go. So it's no secret that I have a dairy allergy. So that completely alters what my traditional Thanksgiving dinner choices are. Last year, a friend made a homemade pumpkin pie that was dairy-free. And it was a new experience for me, and it was magical, and it was wonderful. They're going to make that for me again this year. So I am absolutely looking forward to the homemade, totally from scratch, Jeff Safe pumpkin pie.
Interesting. Well, you don't have anything to compare it to, so I can't ask you to compare how it tastes to normal pumpkin pie, but that's
true. But I can tell you it's wonderful, and other people that have had slices of this pie who don't have a dairy allergy have said that it's wonderful. So apparently I've got good pie coming my way.
Okay. Well, we already have one request for you to get us the recipe if possible.
I will see what I can do.
And it was just that quick too. So there you go. Thank you, Jeff. Well, Bixby, do they do anything different for Thanksgiving in Kansas City?
Yeah, there's a tradition here that you can look it up. It's the plaza lighting ceremony. The Country Club Plaza is an outdoor shopping district that's 100 years old, and they outline the buildings and Christmas lights. They have a big ceremony on Christmas Eve and turning the lights on. It's a tradition. It's but let me go on. You can find me at Blue Sky, Web Bixby, WEB-BIXBY at Blue Sky, or just about all the other socials I'm on there using pretty much that same handle. There is a fly that's going around this room, and all of a sudden you see me doing this. So I apologize for that. Favorite meal. You know, we have the big meal at our house. It's at 1 o'clock. I'm going to have 17 people dining with us here in our house, between my kids and their kids, my grandkids, and Tracy's twin boys and their wives or girlfriends. One wife, one girlfriend, and just so we're going to have a house full. So, you know, and we have this spectacular meal, and Tracy goes all out and does a fantastic job. And then that night, so this is at 1 o'clock. So come about 7, 8 o'clock, when you're kind of getting hungry again, I have what I call the world's greatest sandwich, which is basically just a turkey sandwich the night of Thanksgiving. So now I like to put the bread stuffing on it. Some people like that, some don't. Little mayo, little salt, little pepper, everything my cardiologist just absolutely hates. But you only live once. So the world's greatest sandwich is what I'm looking forward to.
That sounds awesome.
That does. Yeah. Now you've got me hungry too.
And then, 2 days later, you're so sick and tired of turkey that you don't want to even see it again for another year.
Yeah. Had that experience as well. Thank you, Webb.
Thank you.
Jim Rea, you get to wrap it up. What are you looking forward to for Thanksgiving, and where can folks find you?
That's a completely different question than you asked before.
Well, there's just two different questions.
Well, no, because my favorite food or whatever, I think I decided would be, my dad used to make a cheesy scalloped potatoes that I really liked.
Ooh.
But I don't think I'm going to be having that, so I'm not looking forward to it. Pumpkin pie is good too. And you can contact me on that Mastodon thing at ProViewJim, ProVueJim at techhub.social.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Well, since I asked you all to reveal, I'll tell you, I've sort of have a combination. My mom was from Pennsylvania. My dad was from Georgia. And so when it came to Thanksgiving dinner, there had to be, outside of the normal Thanksgiving dinner things, there had to be something from the North and from the South. So from the North came sauerkraut as part of Thanksgiving dinner. And from the South came black-eyed peas. And now it doesn't seem like Thanksgiving if I don't get either one or both of those. So in addition to turkey, mashed potato, stuffing, and everything that was just mentioned. Although, Eric, I do take contention a little bit. I'm not a warm pumpkin pie person. I want my pumpkin pie cool. So
I just don't have the patience. I mean, I get everything together, I cook it, I make it, I'm staring at it for, like an hour or so, and it's not hot. It's like, it's not quite cold, but it's just cool enough that I can cut it and it holds its structure, and you can put whipped cream on top without it melting. I'm just not willing to wait any longer.
That's understandable. That's understandable.
I did try just making multiple pies one year, but there's a limit on how much pumpkin pie you can eat before you regret it.
I want to test this hypothesis.
Go for it, Jeff. Go for it. Well, thank you all. Everybody here on the panel and everybody that's been in the chat room all evening, and the panel members who are not here, the folks in the chat room who couldn't make it tonight. You all are the things I'm thankful for, because we have so much fun doing this every Tuesday night. No matter what combinations on either side of the screen happen, they're just always a blast. And it's one of my favorite things of the week. So thank you all to everyone. This is MacVoices Live. You can have fun with us every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. Add it to your calendar right now. We'll see you next Tuesday. Until then, and as always, thanks for watching.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media.
Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.